Hi, this is Debbie from Apple Harvest Stitching, back with another Flosstube video. It's been a very busy week, but I'm very proud to say I am back 1 week later for my last video, so yay! I will be going over the cross stitch that I've worked on this week, and then some loose plans for this coming week, and that's about it. So I hope you all have had a great stitchy week and put some stitches in. I of course am working to finish my Focus full coverage piece Ex Machina, and before I show you the progress, let me tell you I'm at 98.66%. So I basically have 1 1/3% remaining. And so I'm going to stitch on this every week until it is done. I think I put in like between 500 and 800 stitches this past week. I worked on it on Monday and Tuesday, but like weekdays I typically don't get a lot of stitches in because of work. My brain just can't do too much once I log off. So I'm not sure exactly how much I did last week, but I know I've probably done maybe a little under 1,000. I have, let's see, I have 3,800 stitches left to go, which is amazing. And now let me show you the mock-up real quick, so we know what we're talking about. View mock-up. Let's turn this vertically. Okay. So, let me. It's bright, but it's not sunlight. So the overcast seems to be messing with my settings. So if I want to, let's turn up the brightness and see how that works. Okay. So there's Ex Machina, and I am down in this bottom right hand corner. Oh, that's it. That's as close as I can get. So I started this in September of 2019, and I'm honing in on a finish. It'll be my first full coverage finish that wasn't like a dimensions kit. So I'm super excited to finish this so I can have a new focus piece of my full coverage. So 38 stitches left to go. I'm not taking it out of the Q-snap because I don't really need to change it until I'm done. So this is where we are. Basically all the white is fabric that needs to be covered. And I sort of was picking colors over here and kind of filling them in. So this side got filled in a lot more since the last time you saw it. And I'm basically, I'm picking a symbol and then basically stitching it in wherever it goes. And I'm saving DMC 801, like the medium brown, until last, because that is kind of all throughout the piece. And I would like to just sit and fill it in without having to look at the pattern. So that's where we're at. I'm kind of going back and forth between light colors and dark colors when I'm picking which symbol I want to do. And we are trucking along. I mean, 3,800 stitches. I know there are some folks out there that could knock that out like this coming week and just be done with it and feel good about it, but for some reason I've had a major blockage when it comes to finishing this piece, because I think I had 10,000 stitches left around Christmas time, and it's May, and I could have definitely finished it before now, but for some reason looking at it I just didn't want to stitch on it, and I don't know what it was. So we're just gonna steady as she goes, you know, we're gonna be the turtle in this case. Steady on and we will get to the finish. So I look forward to showing you more progress next week. But yeah. So I stitched that on Monday and Tuesday. Just put it in front of me. The next one I worked on is, you know, last video I was showing progress for like the last 4 months. So, pulling some of those pieces out to show you the progress, really, like, I hadn't worked on some of them in maybe 3 months or so. And so when I was pulling them out, I was like, I really want to work on that. So I did pull out M. Satterthwaite 1807 by Shakespeare's Pedler. And I was working up in this first page. And unfortunately, when I pulled this out to work on it, I realized I had made a pretty large counting error. And I looked at it and I was like, can I fudge it? Does everything else fit? You know, because these are, you know, floating motifs. If it's off by like 1 or 2 stitches, does it really matter? But this error was seven stitches off. And when I looked at it, I would have had to cut off some of the motif, and I just didn't want to do that. So I stitched on this for 2 days because most of the first day was just like trying to frog out a silk thread on 56 count and then kind of try to redo what I had done. So this is on a 56 linen kind of grungy count. I don't know what it's called. I got it a long time ago. And here's where we are now. So basically, last time you saw it, it was just this top, this little top part wasn't there, and everything else was in. And when I looked at it, when I had counted from the beginning of this octagon down here and moved over, I thought I was working, I meant to start with this little T section, but I had actually started with this square, which put me down 7 stitches. And it was too much. I didn't like the way it looked. So I frogged out everything I had over here, and then I restitched it all back in, and then I also got this other bit of the motif done. So it just repeats over on this side to make a mirror image, and then that motif will be done, and then I'll be moving over to work on the swan area. So I am stitching with 1 strand of 103 silks on here, and it's basically the same color as DMC 3799, like the dark gray. And then I have a contrasting color, which is like a medium gold color, that I'm gonna fill in some bits and pieces in here to kind of have them stand out a bit. So yeah, so I am pleased with my progress. I mean, I know all the counting here is now correct, and when I pick it up again, I will be very happy to continue along on the process. So there we have it. I love this, and what is so funny is I think this is my only piece on 56 count right now, even though I do have more pieces that I'm going to be working with. But after I stitched on this, I moved over to something that had was on 40 count, and the stitches felt so large after stitching on 56 count. Because for a while I was like, oh, this isn't that small. It's like, you know, it feels like a 46 count, whatever. And then I pulled out a 40 count, and I was like, no, what I was stitching on was very tiny, because normally 40 count feels pretty petite to me, and it felt huge. It was like I was stitching on 18 count, like going from 40 to 18 count is what it really felt like. So made some progress on there. The next one I worked on was Halloween at Hawthorne Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. Let's see how I can take this out. And I was watching Crafty Emily, and she was working on a block. She was working on this block, and I was watching her, and I was like, you know, last year I had made a counting error on the block I was working on, and I frogged it and then put it away. And I hadn't pulled it out since, which means I didn't get any progress on this piece last year. And originally my goal was to do like 3 blocks a year. I could get it done in 4 years. It's not too difficult, and I've just sort of got stalled on it. So I was inspired by her work, and so I pulled mine out to see where I was at, and I immediately wanted to stitch on it, and so I put in a day's work on here. And I'm working on this one, and I had done like this house with the 3 bats above it. I had done almost all of this bell tower thing, and I had started over on this house and realized that like this clock tower had multiple mistakes in it, and the bricks weren't laying correctly. And I looked at it and I tried to think about, could I fudge it? And in the end I was like, no, it's gonna bother me the whole time, and I think I will feel better if I just frog it all. So I did. I frogged all of that back and then let it sit. So when I pulled it out, I decided to come at it from a different angle, and instead of doing the outlines around the bricks, I decided to do the bricks first. So they filled in the way they were meant to, and then I could fill everything in around it. So in one day, I got the entire clock tower finished. So the clock tower is finished, and it has a lightning bolt hitting the bell that'll fill in, and I can work on the little house on the other side and then do the lightning and the bats, and it'll be done. So this actually might stay out to get more work on it, because I was able to do so much progress on it in one day. So, and of course, after stitching on 56 count, stitching on this felt easy. So this is 40 count vintage country mocha, or country mocha. They adjust I think they adjust the name for the 40 count version for some reason. And I'm stitching it 1 strand of DMC floss over 2 fabric threads, and I am using the DMCs that are listed in the pattern. So yeah, so that's the block I'm working on, and then I'll show you the whole thing. So I mean, I have progress on this, and so I definitely feel like looking at what I've done so far really brings it back to me that like I really love stitching on this, and I want to stitch more. So when I first started this piece, I did the center blocks first so that I could stitch on whatever block I felt like. And so I've done a lot of my most favorite blocks that I've wanted to stitch, I stitched already. And then I'm gonna stitch, I think after this, the block I'm working on, I'm gonna go back and forth between a full coverage block and a non-full coverage block. And I'm gonna leave the very first block that goes over here at the very end. So that, cause that's the next one that I'm really looking forward to stitch. And I figure if I do all the ones I'm looking forward to stitch right up front, then I'll procrastinate against the blocks that I don't want to do. So this is where we're at, and I'm very pleased with this piece. I love it so much. I have really enjoyed stitching it. And I'm looking forward to getting that block done. So I think it's gonna stay out. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it out until I finish the block or just put some more progress on it this week. We'll see. Okay, and then one last one, which fell on the floor. So I stitched, the Quaker Piece was Wednesday, Thursday. The Halloween at Hawthorne Hollow I worked on Friday. And then on Saturday, which was yesterday, I pulled out Hawthorne Hill Sampler by Rosewood Manor. And I showed this last week, and I had done a conversion. I didn't like the coral in this piece, and I didn't like the brown fabric. So I decided to change out the two coral colors for purples, and I changed the fabric to like a blue-gray. I didn't say what the fabric was last time, and I did look it up. It is, it's a 32 count even weave by Fiber on a Whim, and it's called Dusk. And I pulled this piece out since showing it last week really made me want to work on it, and I really enjoyed working on it yesterday. I think it's probably going to go, I don't think it's going to come back out this week, but let me show you where I'm at, and then I'll hone in on the piece I added. So this is where I'm at. And now, after my work yesterday, the full top bit is all complete. And so I'm going to be working my way down, kind of picking things in the next section, and just kind of working down to the bottom is, I think, how I'm going to go about this. So the purples I substituted, the purples I substituted, the dark one is DMC 3834, and the lighter one is actually a blend of 3835 and 3836, because I felt like the lightest one was too light and the other one was too dark, and so I just kind of blended them together. And what I worked on this week is I did this motif and I did the ending motif to kind of finish out that corner. So now that top row is all done. The only thing I need to do on this larger flower band is the little green sprouts. They have flowers. They have little flowers that are in there. So next time I'll probably fill those in just so I can call that motif done. And then I'll be coming back to this side and bringing this down. And then there's a motif that runs along here that I'll do next as well. All the other colors I am stitching with the called for. So like this cream, I guess the conversion would be like an ecru, but it has like this yellow bit in it, and I really like all the colors in this piece and how they and how the variegation works. And I'll show you the bird up close as well. So the bird had all the blues in it, and that was just really fun to stitch. And what's really funny is for some reason while I was stitching the bird, I was watching The Shining for the first time. And so now when I look at this piece, I think of the creepy hotel out in the middle of the mountains, snowed in for the winter, and all the big empty spaces, and yeah. So this piece, which honestly I started for my birthday in December of 2023, like, I love this piece. I love the vibes of it. Like, it has all these good emotions for me, but for some reason I that one memory of what I was watching when I was doing the bird just sticks with me, and I'm not sure why. So, yeah, I love Fiber on a Whim's fabric. It's soft, but it's not like too soft. It feels like it's got some structure to it, and I love working on this piece. So that is what I worked on this past week. it was nice kind of switching projects around because work has just been like really crazy, and so getting to come in and kind of switch up what I was working on kept it from feeling like a chore. So that was nice. So my loose plans for this coming week, definitely Ex Machina, at least 2 days. I'll work on it tonight, and then we'll see how I feel for the remainder of the week. But that's definitely coming out. Halloween at Hawthorne Hollow might come out for a day, just because I'd like to keep up the momentum of trying to finish this block, which is over a year in coming. But there are some other pieces that I pulled out that I haven't stitched on in a while, and considering it's spring now, these pieces are starting to call to me. So the first one that I might work on is Spring Moon by Plum Street Samplers. I bought this as soon as I saw it. I love the crescent moon, and I love the blues in this piece. I'm not changing anything. I'm using all the called for. And it calls for, except for the fabric. The fabric was done on baked clay by Fox and Rabbit. It's just a, tan, neutral. And I put it on Ancient by Picture This Plus, which has a bit more orange splashes and some blue splashes in it. I've only stitched on this 2 different times. So there's not a lot here, which is another reason why I would love to bring it out. Let's see. So you can see the moon is all done, and then I was working on the leaves, just kind of going at it from the top left corner. And I cannot wait to start working on some of the blues. So right here is like the outline of a flower, and that has blues in it. So I think I'm probably going to finish out the leaves over here and then do this flower and then this flower, and just kind of I'll focus on the top part before I go down, but yeah, I'll just kind of work my way over here. But yeah, I love this piece, and I think I'm going to put in a day's worth of work on it this week. The next one that I've been thinking about is Have Courage by Cottage Garden Samplings. It's part of the Songbirds Garden series. It's number 8. And I started working on this when my mom was kind of transitioning to death, and I was sitting by her bedside, and when I went out there, I didn't want to stitch on anything I currently had going, because I felt like I was embarking on a journey that I had never had before, and I didn't really want that journey to imprint on any of my active WIPs. So I went through my stash, and I picked this one out to be, forever marking, sitting by my mom's bedside while she was passing. And for a while after that, I stitched a lot she held on for a while, so I had an entire week's worth of this where I didn't do anything else except stitch on this. And yeah, I've pulled it out a few times since, and it's getting easier, and I would like to put at least a day's worth of work on here. I'm pretty close to that little house, and I would love to stitch that house. So let me show you where I'm at. This is stitched on 46 count. It's just like a natural raw linen, and this is how much I have done. I have a lot done. So there's, I'm finishing up a flower, and then there's 2 more flowers, but those bottom vines, I'm like really close to the house, so I think I'd like to finish those vines and then do the house so I can get that bottom corner done. And then I will finish up the flowers and work my way up to the top and do the words last, is I think what I'm going to do. So yeah, I think I'd like to put in a day's worth of work on here. I think it looks great. But I used to have to like be in the mood to work on 46 count, but now that I'm working on 56 count, like this just feels like 40 count to me. So as long as I have good lighting, I'm okay. The next one that I feel like I really need to pull out is because it's supposed to be a gift, and I was supposed to finish it. What year are we? 2025. So I started this in the beginning of 2024, and I meant to have it done for my sister's birthday, which was in March, and that did not happen. It's out of excuse me, Emma Congdon's Cross Stitch for the Earth. And let me pull up the larger picture of it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. It's the pardon the weeds, we're feeding the bees. And I'm pretty far on this. If I put a little focused effort in, it can get done. I think what's put me off is that it's a little fiddly. Like if you just look at the cross stitch and not the back stitch, you know, you have to really count to get those little bits and pieces stitched in. And then the back stitch itself, like you have to be in the mood to do that. So I am stitching this on 40 count Valor by Picture This Plus. One strand of floss over 2 fabric threads, and this is where I am. So the bottom bit is all done. All the back stitch and everything is done. The words up to we're is all done. I do need to do the bits and pieces along this side, and then it's pardon. I need to do pardon the, and I need to finish the back stitch on the weeds, and then there's flowers and stuff all along the top. So I would say I'm like half done, maybe a little more than half done. But if I put some effort into it, I could definitely get a lot of progress. So, and then I can release the rest of this fabric. This is like this is half of a fat eighth, I think. So I'd like to put some work into this because I haven't stitched on it since the first quarter of last year. And then the last item that's kind of been pulling at me is a full coverage piece. Let me, I'm going to pull up the mock-up. This is Superersized Impossibilium by Aimee Stewart, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I started this in the summer of 2022, and I took me forever to get my first page finish. So this is what it looks like. Originally I started with Superersized Max Color, and it was just up here is all confetti. It's just all confetti. I've had to do a very specific method of stitching this in order to not go crazy and lose my place. I cannot wait to get to part of the door, but I'm in this top corner and I just don't stitch on it very much. This is what I have so far. The first page is completely finished, and then I started on the second page, And I am doing this the method that I've seen Jessie Marie Does Stuff do, which is page by page. You fill in the top squares, and then you park the floss as you go. And then as you move down, you start doing diagonal 10 by 10 squares to kind of fill it in. And it is just full of confetti. I mean, look at how many strands of floss there are here. But because I'm focusing on a 10 by 10 square each, it's not difficult. It can be a little tedious, and you have to, I just have to, get it in my mindset of how, like, what I'm settling in to do. This is stitched on a 25 count Lugana, 1 strand of floss over 1 fabric square, and it's full cross. So I'd like to pull this out and put some work into it, because now that I've finished the top section, I have all of these strands started, and it should go a lot faster. So I'd really like to dig into this a bit more and get some more progress in. But of course, with me trying to finish Ex Machina, this is obviously not a priority. And there are a lot of other full coverage pieces that are about this same they're at this same level of progress that I also want to stitch on. So that's one of my difficulties, I think, is really kind of looking at what I want to make progress on, and is it something that I want to finish and put on my wall, or is it something that I just want to stitch on just to stitch on. But I am definitely a progress stitcher and a project stitcher. I stitch things because I want them finished, and I can tell you exactly where I would put them in my house. So we'll see. But yeah, I would love to get some more progress on this. I think once I actually hit the door, it'll really build some momentum. Yeah. So that's everything. That's everything I worked on this week. There are some loose plans for the coming week. Work is going to continue being really busy, so I'm not sure what kind of effort I'll have available in the evenings. And I just have to, do what my body tells me. So like this weekend, I've had like really low energy. And yesterday on Saturday, I only got like half the stuff done I wanted to get done yesterday, and I just had to let it go and just be like, it's all good. And I ended up taking a nap in the afternoon. Today I'm kind of feeling the same, but also I have like a very reasonable to-do list mixed of like chores that I want to get done before the new work week starts, so I don't have to think about it or worry about it or feel stressed about it. And then I wanted to get this Flosstube done today and save some time for stitching, and there's a couple other things I want to do. So just finished my laundry. I heard it beep, so now I can put my laundry away, and that's awesome. So yeah. Oop, and my laptop's not plugged in, so it's got low battery all of a sudden. So I will take that as my cue to leave. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, I love chatting with you guys and talking about cross stitch. So if there's any new cross stitch projects that you're jonesing to start, let me know down in the comments, and let me know what you're working on also. So thank you, and have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.